Hello and welcome to Dungeons and Dragon Wagon, the Rhyme or Reason, Chapter 4, Round Table. As always, I am here, Jake Lloyd, with my acquaintances in adventure, Alexandra Hoy.
Hello.
Matthew Hinksman.
Hi.
And our fearless dungeon master, Paul Bianchi.
Hiya.
So, Chapter 4 was a roller coaster.
So crazy.
From beginning to end, we will definitely dive into all of everything that happened. And we will also have a delightful sit down with one shadow elf rogue, Maatzyn, which I'm really looking forward to finally
God, he's
chatting.
Everyone's favorite shadow elf.
I'm really looking forward to getting
America's sweetheart.
Yes, it's been a long time coming as far as I'm concerned.
Uh-huh.
But before we do that, before we talk about all that,
Yeah, we need to talk about something that we forgot about in the last recording.
When chapter 4.2 ended with our incredible guest, Gina Devivo, we were also caught up in the moment and we just started yapping. And then eventually I ran into the business and we wrapped the show up and we forgot to figure out how much experience points that we earned.
Yeah, you guys were totally shell-shocked and so was I. So here is where we're at. You guys all gain a delightful 490 experience points for defeating, sadly, Asteria, the Terrorbird Hank, and the two subsequently, I mean, they sort of destroyed themselves, but they were part of it. The skeletal forms of Listor and Almon. And that
brings us to 2350. So we have 650 points until we level up to
so close.
Level 3. So guys, let's just get right into it, because every chapter we sit down and we go, wow, that was a great chapter, and I feel like every chapter has gotten exponentially more fun.
So good.
I think we mean it each time.
And yeah, exactly what I'm getting at. And this isn't a slight on Joe Crandall. This isn't a slight on Noelle Ann Mabry. This isn't a slight on Brendan McKay, who are all fantastic guests.
Incredible.
But I mean, Gina brought it.
Yeah.
She brought it at such a high level that I think it made us all so much more invested in the moment. Yeah.
I love how, so I talked about this last time, but I send an email to our guests beforehand, and I
give them a scoop.
I gave them the scoop, told them what I would like them to be doing, what their character should be like, and I said to Gina, "Hey, we've had a character die, we had a character move on, we had a character surprise you guys by being a NPC that became a character,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And the greatest love story ever told.
It really was.
And then I said, well, it'd be really great. And what you guys, I don't think would see coming is if she ended up being directly in opposition to you.
Betrayal.
She knew from the very beginning that she was going to need or feel the need to sacrifice junk to the goddess Rasa.
It makes
was it always junk, or she
it's
knew it
like
was just going to be
chilling.
one of us?
She knew it was going to be junk because Rasa
Orcus.
specifically
Most like
wanted an orc. Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Oh,
That's
my
right.
so crazy.
which makes me so angry at her from the beginning.
But she was
Also,
great, though. And
she-
we were very
good.
trusting. She had a point.
I mean, right off the bat in 4.1, we were walking through the mists and we come across that shack,
Yeah.
and her father, remind me of the father's name again?
Coma.
You
You know his last name?
What?
Chameleon?
Chameleon?
It's Vermilion.
Coma Vermilion.
You never asked though.
Now that can be put in the wiki.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, yeah.
canon, kids. It's
Yeah.
canon. But the second we walked in there, we were immediately trusting of Kona because he passed your sense motive at a line.
Plus, he was, he gave us stew.
Yeah, he was all about
he
that.
was
He had
very
a
welcoming
warm,
immediately.
Despite
cozy
the fact that we were
cottage.
that Maatzyn was stealing pomegranates and
Also,
stuff.
in fairness, he isn't the evil one. It was his daughter.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and you should have suspected her though because he had an
Yeah.
American accent and she had a Cockney accent. So,
Well, eventually everybody had all the accents.
oh, that's true. Yeah.
But that first episode, what I thought was so interesting was that like she came out of the shadows and she she described her braids. I was like, oh, I like your braids. And then I was like bargaining with her, and then I made a decision in that moment, like, oh, Junk is gonna have like a crush on this character.
Yeah.
And then like no more than 5 minutes later, Maatzyn is literally like sneaking in and like,
Hey, baby.
and like hitting her with lines. But the best part about that was that we didn't know at the time that what you told us that her perk
was seductive.
That she was.
So I don't think it was even your choices that you had a crush on her.
I think that Gina was just really good at that, which men fear her wherever you are because she could probably just get you to do anything, and that's a very dangerous woman.
Good for
out
her.
There.
Yeah.
I think for Maatzyn, you say Junk like really had a crush on her from the beginning. I think for Maatzyn, it's just started as a way. He was like, "Oh, this dad is like super powerful."
Right.
It was just he was just kind of. I'm going to use her as a way to get to the dad, and maybe I can learn some stuff from the dad. But I think
he was being strategic, and then
developed into something that was that was real.
She warmed your cold heart.
Fell for her along the way.
Shadow boner.
She betrayed you.
Well, that first battle. Well, by the way, before we even get to it, too, we also introduced the Moorcat to this universe, which is essentially just a giant rideable cat.
Oh yeah,
which was actually really just a giant cat human.
Which
meow.
There's so many. All right. It ended up being her brother. But
guys, can we talk about that for a split second?
Sure.
Like,
I would love to talk about it for
West Virginia, and I'm done. She's going around riding her brother.
So yeah, he says to her when he finally turns, which by the way, his line while he turned was my favorite thing ever.
Oh, it was so good.
He's not just any man.
That
delivery was
so
perfection.
A little snarfy.
I definitely imagined him. He was halfway through transformation at that point.
He was still half of a cat.
He looked
looked like the cats from Cats the musical.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I saw in my head for sure. He was Mr. Mistopheles.
But he says immediately, "I've been planning this for 4 years." Well, you, sir, are an idiot because you had her by herself constantly, and you waited until she had a party of 4 other people to attack her.
Do villains ever make sense? They always have these elaborate, crazy plans.
Terrible plan. And I don't understand.
And if it weren't for us meddling kids, he would have gotten away with it.
Yeah.
Although maybe he wasn't good at blood magic yet, so he had to spend the 4 years learning. Perhaps.
So what he was going to do though is that he wanted to get Asteria to the cemetery. Specifically, he wanted to be alone with her at the cemetery, which of course was ruined because you guys were there.
Yeah.
But this was his first chance to do there. She hadn't been to her mother's grave for a while. He was going to use the blood of Asteria and the phoenix feather in his pack to bring back his mom from the dead.
Ooh.
And he specifically...
So they were working for the same goal.
So he specifically wanted to do that, but to sacrifice his sister.
Which is why he had that phoenix feather, which we ended up with.
This is a fucked up family, guys.
Oh yeah, super fucked up.
Whoa.
Both Endymion and his sister Asteria resent Coma for Coma being this like wise, all-seeing sage that did nothing to help their mother when she turned to the quote-unquote dark side.
Also, I mean, how come he didn't see this happening with his kids? All seeing Coma, he didn't realize, like,
Love
don't
is
leave.
blind.
He's one of those like I
Selective.
don't interfere people, except
the prime directive.
Fate.
Yeah.
Ooh, yes. Yes.
Well,
I would have bought that he was so busy like looking out that he neglected to look in.
Oh. That could be in like a Hallmark card.
Well, regardless, we got to that cemetery and we fought this buck naked.
Yeah, his clothes were in the mausoleum. He could not get to them in time.
Yeah, which it also there was something that happened in that fight that.
What was his dick like mid transition, guys? Sorry, I had to interrupt with that thought.
You were the only one thinking that too. I don't know.
I'm like shocked. I don't even know what to say.
I haven't seen a lot of cat penises in my life, so
They're barbed.
Oh, okay. Well, it was probably barbed for a moment. You answered your own question.
Yeah, right there. You got cat dick on the brain? What's going on? She's crying over here.
I mean, the podcat's over there in full lounge mode next to her head. So.
Anyways, I don't even remember what I was going to ask now about the fight, about the fighting this dude buck naked.
I think you're going to talk about the Transformer.
No, what I was going to get to was when I was listening back to it, there's something that I realized we never do, and
There's a lot of things you guys never do.
yeah, true, but
Too often.
but we never removed the arrow from Adeline.
Yeah. Mhm.
Like as far
Wait,
as far as
what?
we know, you're still walking around with an arrow in you
Yeah.
for the entire chapter 4.2 because you shot him and then he used blood magic to
Right.
replace the arrow in him with the arrow in you. But we never specified like, oh yeah, let's get that arrow out of you. It's
I
just
like to
part
think
of her
about that as like a moment. Like sometimes people read books and it's like the characters never went to the bathroom. It's like it's implied that they went to the
yeah,
bathroom.
Adeline removed it herself.
Of course.
She probably moved
Tough
it in the bathroom while
broad
she was
with her
peeing.
teeth somehow, and
Yeah,
we're like, oh,
she
that you're
bent
flexible.
down.
Yeah, there was some fun magic that happened that too. There was also teleportation magic with Asteria, where he like swapped spots with her after she cast the blood mist. And then of course, yeah, the fact that we fought zombies, poor innocent people that were just trying to sleep forever,
Yeah.
and then we re-murdered them.
Are
assuming
they
that
really
wasn't-
people anymore in this scenario?
I mean, if you want to dissect it too, I mean, these were the bodies of the prisoners of Reshkoth Cemetery.
Right.
So many of them had done bad things in their lives, but that doesn't, people want to rest in peace,
So
regardless.
yet again, really by default, we did nothing wrong.
Sure.
We
But
fought the zombie Voltron.
the zombie
That
Voltron.
was cool.
Eventually, all the zombies became one big zombie. I don't know which one was its dick, but I'm sure that it wasn't appropriate. This is a very dick-themed episode.
Yeah.
I did think like a guy made the crotch and like the dick was the guy's own dick.
It's so tiny.
Probably.
Such an inappropriate visual. I'm sorry, listeners.
Or maybe a literal baby arm ended up right there. You don't know.
Oh, was one of the zombies a baby?
Of course.
Oh.
An evil prisoner baby.
It was a bad baby, you guys.
It was
It's
a
all right.
Yeah.
shiver.
Yeah, I know that we haven't currently gotten a lot of art from listeners, but if there's any artists out there, I want to see this. I want to see
Please.
this zombie Voltron in action.
For sure, yeah.
wonder what
I
happens
also
when you
loved
Google
your
zombie Voltron.
I also loved your description of him, by the way. Like you did a really good job of describing the way that he formed. Where like it was almost
yeah.
it wasn't like they were all just hanging on to each other like a Cirque du Soleil act,
Yeah.
but instead like their bodies, like their bones started breaking from one another and
God.
reclasping.
It was more like a machine. Like
Yeah.
they just molded in.
like Transformer. They just became this big
Yeah, exactly.
Cronenberg. Yeah. What are you trying to Google?
I'm Google
zombie?
imaging zombie Voltron.
That's a terrible idea.
No, I'm not
I
seeing
imagined
it.
like a whole bunch of contortionists, sort of the way that they would be able to bend together if they were tasked with like,
Right.
yeah, create one big human out of you guys. Can you do that? And they're like, oh, we did that yesterday.
We got
we
this.
got you, fam.
Yeah.
And that was the wrap of part one.
Hmm.
And at that point, there was still a little bit of sparky between Maatzyn and Asteria. But for the most part, it
Even
was
after she broke her brother's nose into his skull.
Oh, that's right. That
I think
final moment
I just like maybe that was the
Yeah,
moment
where
Maatzyn's
we
fell
like,
for her.
oh, I love this lady.
where we high five through her brother's head. Where Junk and Asteria high five through his head. Oh, that was awful.
That's when you should have probably guessed.
Yeah, for
It was-
sure.
It was interesting going back and listening to 4.1, all the little pieces of foreshadowing that maybe we should have picked up on.
Yeah.
Because he was like, you've been a naughty sister.
So
and
many
all that stuff.
Well, he also did warn us. He said she's not what you think and don't trust her.
Right.
Yeah.
But we never even once went, why did he say that?
She's right. She said herself.
Why should we
you guys
trust
never
him?
Did a sense motive.
Exactly. That's why we just assumed like, oh well, he's the bad guy we just fought. So clearly,
Yeah.
that's just what he's gonna say.
Yeah.
Every bad guy's gonna say, I'm not the bad guy. That's just how bad guys work.
But she played that so well because she was always like, "Are you okay? How are you guys?" And someone hurt. Like she was so
Right.
attuned to our well-being that it's like really comforting in a deceptive way because you're
Absolutely.
like, "Oh, she really cares."
She didn't make sure the
She's
host
one
was
of the
okay.
party.
The host body.
Yeah. I didn't
Can't hurt the
realize that
goods.
until after the fact.
Can't hurt
but
the goods.
Yeah, I probably would have given it away if she had to like. I was like, okay, yeah, but roll another deception check. Roll
Right.
another deception check.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess there's some stuff that you just had to kind of keep close to the vest
Sure.
for the
Sure,
sake of
yeah.
storytelling.
Some people are just so naturally deceptive.
So what you're saying is Gina's a filthy liar.
Yes.
I want to let people know, like, just to draw the curtain back a little bit, we generally record one full chapter per sitting. So, for example, when Brendan was in for chapter 3, we record 3.1 and 3.2 in one big long sit
Long,
down.
epic
Yeah,
play.
and
Everyone's butt hurts at the end.
yeah, and it's usually there's a little 5-minute stretch in between, but for the most part, it's just one long night or afternoon or whatever. Whenever we get to do it, we played for so long and did so much in just 4.1 that Gina was the first guest that we ever were like, well, we have to
We
have
had
to come
to break.
back. We had to break and we
Yeah.
would do it on different days, which I was a little worried about because like, we have been living in this world now for a while. And when you have a guest who comes in, I was worried that it wasn't going to be as easy for her to fall back into it.
Seamless.
Yeah. Boy, were we wrong.
Oh yeah.
She was great.
When she came back and we did 4.2, which by the way, there was a couple summaries in 4.2. If you remember, we summarized walking around the temple for a little bit and we summarized that puzzle room, which we'll get into in a bit here. But for the most part, as much as we could have left in for 4.2, but that was still like a 4-hour gaming session.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, for the sake of you listeners, we cut from the show a lot of our little mid-game banter because it pulls you out of the story, and we're trying to present a specific, type of listening experience here. Which is why when we say it was 4 hours and you say, hey, the episode was only an hour and a half, still a long session. It was so much fun to play with.
Yeah.
There's a lot
So
of
Yes.
do I want to do that?
Yeah, there's a lot of that
Yeah.
that gets
Hemming
cut.
and hawing.
Yeah. If anybody ever heard an unedited play session,
They would just tune
yeah.
right
They-
out.
no, they would just be they wouldn't tune out. They would just be screaming at themselves. Like,
Oh.
do that! Stop thinking about it. Man, 4.2 was it was a
It had
movie.
so much.
And it had there were I didn't realize it until I went back and re-listened and edited like how many just like set pieces. I think chapter 4.2 we visited more places
Sure.
individually than anywhere else.
Well, my original intention was I was hoping that you'd get through the battle and then we would go to the groundkeeper's hut and then we would begin
In 4.1.
Yeah, and then in
Gotcha.
4.2 you would be reaching Mystic Cross.
Gotcha.
And so that whole part with finding the Terrorbird and
Right.
and the storytelling at the groundkeeper's hut, which was all great.
I love the beginning of 4.2. Like
happened
us,
much more like
Those
organically.
intimate moments are great.
it was so organic too.
It
And
helps us develop who we are.
I love the groundskeeper's
characters.
hut. The hut was so
Yeah.
fun. Like Junk getting to explore that, finding the bird book, playing with the tobacco. We finally got to hear about Maatzyn's ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
The remind me the name again.
Television.
Terravin.
Yes.
Terravin the Merciless.
Yes.
Terravin the Invincible, the Untouchable.
Yep.
Which is a fantastic story.
So good.
And now we kind of have a little bit of, now the thing is we don't have 100% clarification that's what it is, but that's the legend. It's what
Sure.
you believe it is,
Yeah.
right? Maybe when we speak to Maatzyn, we can ask him further about this.
Ooh.
But I feel like the beginning of 4.2 was just so fun. And I feel like everything that happened in that hut was like the purest form of, we just like, that is totally us being in the moment and just having a ton of fun doing whatever we're doing when we play these games. Like that part of that chapter is a testament to just how fun I think we
It
have
was its
doing
own
this.
fireside chat.
It was its own
Yeah.
fire. It was an actual yeah.
With an actual fire.
And then we set off after obviously finding the Terrorbird, which is
So
amazing.
delightful.
Yeah.
Especially with Maatzyn's dreaded fear.
Yeah.
And then
And true story, one of my favorite animals just that has ever existed on this planet.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just do you know what era that they existed in?
Boy, do I not. It was
Mesozoic.
around the
Yeah.
era of when animals
Not
were
right.
giant for no reason.
Sure, yeah.
And except there's totally a scientific reason, but
They
were
Guys, we science here.
they were
-3.
they were top of the food chain in South America for just like thousands of years, like
post dinosaurs,
yeah.
pre-modern,
really long period of time, just frightening creatures that just killed everything.
Terrifying.
And then when the Central America became a thing and joined the two Americas,
Right.
dire wolves came down from the north, and the terror wolves started coming north, and they had this clash of
Yeah.
like,
Are you
who's
serious?
at the
This
top
is a
of the
real
for,
thing?
for Central America.
yeah.
What?
And the dire wolves just destroyed them
Yeah.
because they
That's-
hunted in packs.
So
and,
cool.
Which is why here
And I
in
love direwolves.
Southern California, the most common fossil amongst any of the pits here are all direwolves, or all wolves.
yeah, they also found some terror wolves.
Yeah.
Terror
Terrible. Oh my
They
god,
made
they
it.
made
Oh my God.
I want to see that.
But yeah, if you go
Yes.
to the La Brea Tar Pits Museum, which I did go one year for my birthday because that's the kind
I
of
love
nerd
that
am.
place.
Yeah, that place
Yeah,
is the best.
awesome.
You can
I
see
visited a couple
some
times
cool.
with Tony, who is the voice of Dungeons and Dragon Wagon, the guy who does the voiceover in our theme song.
He also
Tony,
those are also
hi.
his wings flapping, right?
Yes, at the end of the Dragon Wagon stinger.
Is that what that is?
What?
No idea. Wings flapping.
Well, it's the dragon. Am I really explaining to you the Dragon Wagon Radio stinger now?
Every time I listen to it, I'm like, I don't know
It's
what
a
that
dragon
is.
in a wagon going off of a ramp and
Oh.
then blowing fire and flapping his wings in the
That
sky.
makes a lot of sense now.
It's
Dragon
It's the
Wagon.
Dragon Wagon Radio logo
Okay.
happening,
Okay.
except with fire.
And then the woman screams, but it's like at a decibel that only people under 17 can hear.
But anyways, moving on through chapter 4.2, we got some great electric peeing
Uh-huh.
that occurred.
Similar to when Adeline shot the arrow through the fire and
Right.
said, and I was like, somehow the physics of this work. Like, I did the same thing there because I specifically have watched that Mythbusters where it's like, is it possible to pee on a railroad on the
nothing
third
happens.
rail and get electrocuted? And it's like, no, your piss stream would have to be so solid. And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, maybe,
Yeah,
or
maybe
You
Junk-
described it that
yeah,
way,
maybe
though.
Junk
You were like,
has a
oh,
really solid-
that's true.
He held it in for 3 days.
yeah, maybe Orkans have a very solid stream.
It's very
too.
acidic or something.
Yeah.
I love that moment, and it was the first time that somebody actually helped Orny pick some stuff.
Yeah, that was
which
so sweet.
great.
Yeah.
And then we find ourselves meeting a Sibyllin
Uh-huh.
and having.
Which was great.
And I remember when we played it, when we played it, and we got beyond that point, we were in the temple, us chatting, and again, the stuff that you guys don't hear is us kind of chatting a little bit about the podcast while we're playing.
Yeah.
And I remember specifically being like, "Yeah, that hat stuff will probably all get summarized," and I couldn't bring myself to do it.
No,
it
it's
was
very important.
it was so important,
development,
and it was so
especially for
fun.
Maatzyn.
And I love the character. We never learned his name. I feel so bad. Nobody ever
Oh, yeah.
asked what the Sibyllin's name was.
His
The hat
name is
merchant.
Smetterling.
Smetterling?
Smetterling. Aw.
Yeah, the hat merchant Smetterling,
Uh-huh.
who at this point is probably my favorite NPC we've come in contact with.
Oh, yeah?
Really?
Yeah, I mean,
He did have a very similar voice to Gregor. I only have so many
Listen,
voices that I
listen,
can pull from.
that's-
It was a great voice.
if you don't draw a circle around it, people aren't going to know.
That's true.
I did like Monkwell. Monkwell was fun too.
Monkwell.
Monkwell was the guard at
Right.
Oh.
and he spoke like this. And I was
Yeah.
like, Junk was like, I like that guy's voice.
Yeah.
But
But you got a
Monkwell.
great, or Junk got a great hat.
Junk got a bowler hat, which is a bowler hat. Did not get the fez, but also I enjoyed that Junk still doesn't quite get that the Sibyllin isn't a snake, and that the hat he's selling isn't weird for him to sell. Didn't get that at all whatsoever. But then I feel like that was the moment that like Maatzyn, I mean, there was, foreshadowing because when you guys were exploring outside together and when you were chatting, there was definitely a little bit of like that was where, but that was the moment where all of a sudden out of nowhere, fucking Rico Suave Maatzyn pulls this, I'd like to buy my wife a hat move, and she loops her arm around him, and I was just like, damn, Maatzyn got game. At that point, that's when Junk was like, oh, I'm not going to be able to compete with this guy.
Especially because he bought her that purple Carmen Sandiego hat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you describe it again? What are they called again?
Oh, it was just he
A Shapé. No.
a chapeau.
A
chapeau?
Shar-Pei. It was a dog. He put
But he
a
was
dog
like,
on her head.
a purple chapeau.
It's the purple chapeau. I've been working on my pitch, she said.
Yeah, so cute.
I love that guy.
Yeah. I think it's fun. The characters should lie.
Yeah. You were really laying it on thick there with her.
Uh-huh.
And if it wasn't for you being told about the little shadow elven girl,
Mm-hmm.
if it wasn't for you being told about that, I feel like you would have been highly focused on Asteria.
Yeah. I don't know. It felt interesting for the character because I pictured Maatzyn as someone who doesn't really seek out romantic relationships. He's kind of career focused, and here comes this woman who's kind of
She's a girl. Let's not forget. She's like barely 18.
Well,
Asteria?
What?
You said that she was his like teenage daughter who's never left the house.
I didn't think
I
she was
never
teenage.
I never
no.
specified.
Did I
her
make
age.
that assumption?
Jake.
Because I'm dirty.
Gross.
Redacted.
No, along came this woman that probably had an effect on him that he hadn't felt before. So
Sure.
I thought it was interesting to
And
explore that.
She was sort of a female version of Maatzyn in the sense that she was a little feisty when she wanted to be, but she was also kind of like
she was a little mysterious. She
Right.
was a little dangerous. I think he was into that.
Yeah. Could we also just talk for a moment about the choice of language that Gina gave Asteria?
Mhm.
Just the words she used, or vernacular, like the way that she composed words. It was so. I promise you that when we're playing this stuff, like we don't write anything ahead of time. Like we just play
I
the
do.
game. Well, Paul as DM does, yeah, but that doesn't count. I'm talking about the
No, for
players.
Orny.
The players. Yeah, for
Probably.
Orny you don't. For the characters you don't. But she spoke at such like an elevated level that was so natural to the world.
Yeah.
And it brought so much life to that character, especially when she was talking with you. You guys had some lines back and forth where I wish people could see sometimes us watching, because we're all like, you know, we have a lot of microphones here set up in the studio, and we're all faced right into them to make sure that you guys can hear all of our voices. But I think we were all like leaned away from our microphones, like head on our fists, leaning on our knees, if that makes sense, all listening to Maatzyn and Asteria.
Yeah, you all had the I ship this face.
Yeah. For sure. The feet up behind us as we're laying on our bellies. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very beginning of Bye Bye Birdie.
It really was.
Musteria. That's your couple name.
Ooh.
Nice.
Yeah, Aston doesn't quite work.
Yeah.
But I thought that whole romantic thing was so good.
It was so good and then so tragic.
But then you hear about the little shadow elf girl.
Yeah.
Which I had no idea what that's about. Maybe again something we can ask Maatzyn about later. But
had you completely forgotten that was a caveat for him?
No.
Okay. You just said that you didn't know.
The party meeting.
Right.
I'm sorry. I was kayfabe in there right there, Paul.
Gotcha.
So you know, the party and whatnot is unsure, and Asteria. Again, Gina did a great job of justifying. Oh, she thinks that this is just nerves because of the bird or whatever. Which is really well done. We enter the temple. We murder some worms.
Don't forget Asteria acting very obviously a little weird too, as she's like approaching the temple. Like, I want to give Gina props, like, because I definitely picked up on it. She was kind of like, oh, you know, doing this a lot.
Although I feel like that was first about Maatzyn, and then once we got into the temple.
But she says how she notices like the stained glass and everything, and you know, she's getting emotional.
Yeah.
Well, for Maatzyn in that moment, I think I wanted to help show that he has been kind of showing Asteria all this attention, and now once he hears about the girl, he's like, oh well, if I make the character stop paying attention about her, that's going to show how much he is interested in finding
and
this
it
person.
Was great. And that was perfect.
It was a great choice.
I love that. But we end up in the temple and we meander a little bit and we find these masks. And I know something now.
I'm so mad about.
But we leave the masks because they just look like, you know, followers of Rasa's
creepy masks. We don't want to put them on our face.
We go down.
Who knows what's on
and
those
let's
masks?
talk for a moment about this puzzle.
Oh, Jake.
Because we did not have a good time solving this puzzle.
I think Jake in particular did not have a good time.
But kind of like we were in that room in real life, in real time for over an hour, I think.
Sure, yeah.
We played that puzzle for well over an hour. And I think you guys heard, listeners, maybe 10 minutes of it, if that, maybe not even.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Paul tried to help us so much, and we just did not listen.
He did everything in his power, both as Orny, as DM. There were times where he leaned away from the mic and just like was like, you still want to solve this thing? And we're like, he was frustrated that we weren't solving it.
The real MVP here is Paul.
Yeah,
you deserve an award for patience.
Well, my favorite Indiana Jones movie is The Last Crusade. And one of the things that they have to do in that movie is they spell Jehovah's name in by stepping on the stones. And so I thought maybe just knowing what kinds of movie nerds you guys are, that sort of frame of reference would even set you off in the right direction. Like, oh, we're supposed to be spelling something.
And yet somehow we all dropped the ball.
I don't think, and a part of it too, I feel might be simply that we are playing a game of the mind.
Yeah.
And there is not, we don't have, every now and then, Paul, you'll draw something like, you know, or example, like you're like, oh, here's what the statue of Rasa looks like, and you have a little drawing in your book.
Yeah.
But for the most part, we are all
imagining.
manifesting. We're all manifesting this in our own brain as we talk through it, as every RPG sort of happens. And I feel like nobody, not a single one of us was even close to making any sort of connection to these being letters.
Yeah.
There was just no world where any of us were going to get there. Yeah. Maybe if it said the word Rasa somewhere, despite the fact that we knew we were in Rasa's temple, we might have maybe, and this is a reach, I'm hurting my shoulder reaching so hard, maybe we would have picked up on it. But even then, I feel like it was just, we were at a loss.
Yeah.
And we spent so much time doing this freaking puzzle. And then Paul, can you tell me what you told me the other day that made me really sad?
Oh, yeah. So one of the reasons that I wanted you to investigate the upper level of the temple so much, because I wanted to give you the option to pick up the masks, determine that they are cult members' masks, and do some sort of subterfuge. I never know how to say that word. I have trouble. Subterfuge. By putting on these very eyes wide shut masks, walking downstairs and presenting yourselves as cult members, which would have just opened the door.
Pain in my ass.
I mean, it's
I
so
think I tried one on,
painful.
right, to see if anything would happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh wait, no, I don't think you did. You just examined it. You
okay.
like, but we definitely determined that they were the followers' masks for sure. But then Orny made a joke about it not fitting on his tiny face, and then Junk made the same thing, like, "Oh, it's so little." Like, so I think the second that those jokes went out there, it's one of those instances where us being dumb and cracking jokes ruined our ability to find something that was right in front of us. Because we're like, oh, they don't fit our faces. I guess we're not going to wear them.
Yeah.
They're just ornamental, and then we just left them and walked on. Except freaking Asteria kept one, and again, didn't even notice it when it happened. But listening back, I was like, oh, Asteria kept one.
Yeah.
Oh, geez, we completely missed that one.
Wow.
Who would have thought that?
I'm just putting it together now.
Yeah.
And if she had put it on, gone down the stairs by herself, the door would have opened for her. But
we
that
were
didn't
with
happen.
us, yeah.
They always say with storytelling that nothing's introduced without a purpose.
Sure.
Usually.
Sure.
So that was definitely on us.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, these are clearly nothing.
There was so much foreshadowing in this. There's so much, and there's so much foreshadowing that's accidental.
Even the title of the second chapter is foreshadowing.
It's got us
Foreshadowing and a double entendre.
I give
which
Paul
is pretty
credit for that
impressive.
it was intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you realize that the more you do that, now we're going to overanalyze.
Well, we should be overanalyzing.
But now we're going to be doing
Chapter 7, the thing that happens.
Yeah. They're going to become more vague.
with stuff.
We accidentally foreshadowed so many things, including Junk not being afraid of the temple or Rasa. There were so many little things that we didn't even realize we were saying as characters that were leading us down a very
bad path.
coincidentally written path. We walk into the room, we meet Almon, who is the princess, a former princess of King's Prom, of Mystic
Almond,
Cross.
as Junk like to say.
Yeah.
She doesn't have her hand, which is the whole reason we're there.
Yeah.
And before we can even think about, hey, what's going on with this whole hand situation, Asteria turns on us. Sort of.
Mostly just Junk.
She specifies multiple times, Adeline, Maatzyn, just leave. She says that many times.
Like, we could have just said, all right, bye.
Yeah.
Drop mic.
She never said it to Orny, though. I mean,
she looks right over him. She forgets he's there. His
Yeah.
hat is
I mean, she didn't make a connection with him. And honestly, he didn't make a connection with her.
No.
He was like, because Orny is... his sights are set on the
task.
greater problem of the land. So he's like, okay, whatever.
Also, not for nothing, Orny, you even specified that Orny, the second he sees the Temple of Rasa, he's immediately like, I didn't know that this is where we're going. I don't like this.
Yeah, I mean, you were so uncomfortable at that point.
Yeah. But
yes, crazy. Such a good moment, though. Her turning.
And this battle, I wish everybody, again, there was some sort of visual component, because we were all like
it was electric in here.
Literal edge of our seats during this battle, because we're at any given point we're waiting for like
something crazy.
Just kidding, or I don't know. We're waiting for something for this to not be actually what's happening.
Yeah,
and then Junk is killed. I am the Terrorbird murdered me. The murder bird slams me onto this spike.
The Terrorbird that wasn't even supposed to be part of the story originally. Isn't
that crazy?
Yeah,
he just love that.
He just.
And I think Asteria Gina made sure of that. She was like,
He's coming with me.
Yeah, I want more ammo.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Oh, damn it! She got help in her cause.
Yeah, I think she was afraid
that was her
to
little
fight you
baby,
guys, and she should have been.
She opened her cloak. It looked at her like she was mom. I mean,
jeez Louise.
This giant bird that
I need to have a word
bit
with
me
Gina
and Orny.
So Junk is dead. Junk
dies.
is dead. And then you guys have to finish fight. And the entire time that's happening, I am sitting in my chair with my arms crossed, like a sad baby just waiting, going like, okay, well, this can't be the end.
Is that why you wet yourself?
Yeah, I peed on the chair that I'm currently in. I still haven't cleaned it since we played. No.
Then you were given a choice. Oh,
But then you guys have to finish a fight.
oh
Yes.
that's right.
And I'm dead. And you guys have to murder Asteria, which talk a little bit about like murdering Asteria after Maatzyn falls for her.
Yeah, it was tough. I think I kept trying throughout the whole fight. I mean, definitely in the beginning, even after she had already betrayed us, I was like, there's still time to change your mind and not do this.
Yeah, I mean, I did enjoy it. There was the most talking during this fight than any fight we've ever done before, because both Adeline and Maatzyn were consistently trying to reason. Adeline being like, "Oh, we can be your family. You don't need her."
Well, we
Yeah.
saw
And-
something good in her
Yeah,
initially.
yeah.
I think we interpreted her as misguided, if anything.
Yeah,
And
well, I really like the way she
She's
played it.
fanatical.
Paul, I don't know if you told her at all to do this, but she definitely she didn't want to do it, but she
Yeah.
felt like
Yeah.
it was her duty.
It was her destiny.
Like she was trying to.
and
She
she's
was trying to tell us like not to do it. She
and
was
she
like
even-
warning me as we were going in there. Like I'm some shit's gonna go down. She
Right.
more or less said right on.
Yeah, I mean, I
That was
give
great.
Gina full
Yeah.
props for that, because I said I give Guess this is basically who you are and this is what you want, but I don't. I try to give them as so that it's fun for them.
yeah.
as
Like
much
you don't puppet them.
Yeah,
yeah.
and
No.
so-
Once they're on the
That's cool.
couch,
Mhm.
what they do is entirely up to them.
Yeah, so like she knew her task that she had to do, and it was up to her to decide. These are the reasons that I want to do it, and I do believe that the connections that Asteria made with the party were genuine.
They were
Yeah.
organic. They were
I believe
super
that too.
organic.
Yeah.
I think
yeah.
it was more
Yeah.
about she had a greater vision that she wasn't going to let be stopped by liking any of us.
Yeah.
For sure.
One of the things too, the statue had two open palms. She placed on one hand a dried flower from her mother's grave, in the goddess hand, and in the demon hand she set a nesting doll. The nesting doll contained a aspect of the demoness's spirit or soul that was sitting, and it was sitting on the fire, like on the mantle of the fireplace in their home when you guys first arrived. You did not do a
Yeah, we weren't thorough.
you didn't do a thorough check,
Which is weird because we spent so much time in that cabin in
So-
4.1, but we
Yeah.
didn't.
but we
yeah.
were, we were really
We were
engaged
chatting,
with each
yeah. We
other.
were chatting, yeah.
So you would have seen that there, and then if you had done another check, you would have seen it gone suddenly.
Right. But you
And
guys
it
had
made
to
it made it all the more
finish
tragic that
Yeah.
she wasn't like, and no, I'm totally evil.
Yeah.
like,
Right.
That she,
Well, it's not that
didn't like
black
the
and
She
white
said she
usually.
was sorry to you
Oh,
yeah.
right before Orny murdered her
again with that cudgel.
cudgel to the back of the head.
Ooh, he
Yeah.
is fierce.
Then Junk meets Rasa.
Mhm.
And this was very hard for me, like on a very real level, because I was given a choice as Junk to do a thing that I don't want to do, or potentially be dead, or leave. I again, you just don't know. I have no idea what was going to happen, and I felt that after attempting to intimidate this demon and then attempting to sense motive check and essentially being told, oh, this is what your choices are, it only made sense for Junk to, because like, again, I don't want to be the kid who's like, no, you didn't get me because I have an invisible force field.
That's the worst.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I Junk had
Lots of people play D&D that way.
yeah, and Junk had to accept this.
Yeah.
Junk had no choice. He was given no choice, and yeah, Jake might have had a choice, but Junk did not, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I hope to explain why in future chapters. But
Yeah. I legit was scared. I was like, this might be the end of Junk.
yeah,
and yet the ghost of Junk kept haunting us every episode.
who knows? Who knows what the outcome was? But I also want to give a huge
Paul
shout
knows.
out to I want to give a huge shout out
Yeah,
to
Veronica was
Wylie.
so good.
Veronica Wylie re-recorded the lines that Paul delivered as Rasa. So if you're confused about how that worked out, if you're like, oh, did they end up writing this? Again, we don't write anything. Like everything that was said, you heard Paul actually delivered it when we were playing the game, and then we
Live,
brought in
yeah.
Veronica after the fact. Veronica Wylie, she's great. I think it's VJ Wylie, Wylie on
Yep.
Instagram. She is the significant other, if they hope they don't mind me saying so, of our first ever guest, Joe Crandall. She was in studio for that episode and also provided the voice of the witch in the tower because she was here in the room and we were like, hey, could you do this for us real quick? So she's so great. Follow her on Instagram. And they also, her and Joe are cosplayers and super awesome, and they sell.
Yeah, they're incredible.
If you're a fan of Guardians of the Galaxy, they sell actual baby Groots
Groot
that you can put on your shoulder. That puppet, so you can have like a real life baby Groot on your shoulder.
But it's like the mechanics of it's super simple.
So
like
good.
anyone could do it.
No, not anybody could. Oh,
No,
you mean
I'm
they could
saying like to
puppeteer
have
it.
it on you,
Yes,
have
yes.
their product on
Not
you.
anybody could make it because
No, not anyone can
Joe
make
is
it. 'cause
incredibly
it's
talented.
So
Yeah.
pretty.
It also makes an appearance in the Deadpool 2
Hey.
fan
yes,
musical.
which
that,
does it?
we haven't talked about this a lot because one day, one of these roundtable episodes, we're gonna maybe the next one we're gonna play a hey, guess do you guys know who we are as people? Because we haven't really introduced ourselves to the people who may be listening. One day we'll do that, but we should note that Paul is a incredible writer, as you already know since you've heard the show. But Paul wrote the very popular Deadpool the musical short on online, which the sequel just came out. And Joe is in it as Star-Lord. You voice Spider-Man. You reprise your role from the first one as Spider-Man.
Yeah, because Christopher Choi is an incredible fighter and parkour
Spider-Man,
person
yeah.
for Spider-Man, but he does not sing. And
luckily Spider-Man wears a mask.
Yeah,
So
you
anybody
you
could,
make a good Spider-Man. I think.
thank you.
A good Peter Parker, I should say.
I did it before because we've all had terrible jobs in our lives. I was a children's party entertainer briefly, and I definitely did a
Aw.
Spider-Man.
delightful. And Matt, you're also involved in that. You were
I was the gaffer
the
on that
gaff
one,
on
yeah.
that project.
Well, the first one and two.
And you also provide a voice as well. At least in the first one you
the
did.
first one, yeah.
You were a severed head, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken.
And then the
With
second one, you're an Easter egg as the X-Men Angel.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Ooh.
Right. So if you haven't checked those out and you're a comic book nerd or a
Check it
Deadpool
out.
fan, make sure you check those out. Anyways, chapter 4 was incredible. It was so much fun.
So fun.
Junk has a hole in his chest and his back, and I don't know what that means for him, but I know
Lots of games where we throw things through it.
I know that he's not happy about this, and that he is going to have a very big problem with the fact that he doesn't have a heart where his heart should be. So we'll see where that goes. So guys, I have some really good news, and then I have some really bad news.
Oh.
Do the good news first.
The good news first. It's time to give away a Gamebox Monthly.
All right.
Yay!
This is my chance, finally. I feel that this is it.
Do you want the bad news though?
Yes.
Sure.
There's a
No.
good possibility that we are giving away our last Gamebox Monthly.
Oh.
Gamebox Monthly as a company is changing ownership, and I cannot guarantee that the current deal that we have will continue. With that said, we will do everything we can to find something awesome to send you for leaving reviews. So we will continue to do this contest. Campfire, the pod dog agrees.
Hot dog is all for it.
We will continue to do this contest. We may not necessarily be giving you a game box for the next one, but we will find something by then to get to you. So once again, please leave us a rating and review on iTunes. It goes an incredibly long way to helping the show find organic listeners, and most importantly, getting us up high in listings. If you
Yes.
search for Dungeons and Dragons, we will not come up. We do not have enough ratings and reviews, but we put a lot of love into this show.
Help the dragon soar.
Yes, and we hope that you love listening to it as much as the love that we put into it, and the much as we love doing it
It's
ourselves.
so easy to do.
And
Takes
leaving
30
a rating review is such an easy thing
Yes.
to do. If we can get a giant influx of these in the next couple of weeks, who knows? Maybe we'll be added to the new Noteworthy or just added to some sort of great list, and that way we can find more listeners organically.
You can even leave a comment that says, "Hey, Paul, you always say politus when you mean to say poultice."
Yes, precisely. Literally, it takes 2 seconds. Please leave a rating and review on iTunes, and you will be automatically entered to win something. Again, right now we don't know what that is.
It'll be fly.
But we will ensure that we get
I
something.
don't like how
awesome.
you looked around the room like something
Like
in
I'm
this
getting-
room.
You know what?
Wait, what?
If it comes to that, yes. If it comes to that, we will just start sending you shit from the Dragon's Den.
It's still cool though.
Still cool.
We could send
shit.
autograph pictures and stuff.
Yeah, like people want our autographs.
I
Listen
I'm just throwing
to
out ideas
Fancy
here.
McPass Matt over here. Regardless, our winner of potentially our last ever Gamebox Monthly 1 month classic subscription, A.Booi. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it. It's A.Booi. I'm going to go ahead and say A.Boy. Thank you so much. You wrote a fantastic review. Not just
Thank you.
of our show, but of Dragon Wagon in general, of Paul's incredible ability to create this world. And you were just so incredibly kind.
Mm-hmm.
And man, it reviews like that really keep you going when every now and then you go, wow, we're putting a lot of work into this podcast. Should we keep doing all this work? And then you see that and you go, oh yeah, hell, absolutely.
Yes,
so
thank you
so much. What you have to do now is you have to email us at contact@dndwpod.com. Once again, contact@dndwpod.com and tell us that it was you. Tell us that it was me. Prove that it was indeed A.Boy. And
Matt, you can't claim it.
Yeah, don't lie to me, Matt. And we will get you your 1 month classic subscription to Gamebox Monthly. Thank you so much to Gamebox Monthly thus far for allowing us to do this. I do hope that we can work out some things so we can continue this. But again, if not, we will find something to give away. So please go to iTunes or Apple Podcasts and leave a rating and review. It goes such a long way. Once again, congratulations to A.Boy. I bet you that's not at all what the implication is. And
That's how I'm saying it.
they hate me saying it that way.
A-boy.
It's just A-boy.
They hate
It's so simple.
Or like,
or their last name is Bowie.
or like it's an acronym for something. that we
No, I don't think so because it's capital A dot capital B lowercase OOI.
Oh,
why?
that could be a last name.
It could be a last name. It could be
Which is
Alfred
awesome.
Bowie. Well, thanks, Alfred, and keep him up.
Or
Keep him up.
What if it's a lady?
It could be a lady.
Oh, yeah.
It could be a lady.
Alfina.
Non-gender.
It could be. I can't think of a female name that's not Alexandra, despite the fact that there are 90 of them.
Adeline,
Amanda
Alice,
or whatever. Oh my God, maybe
Amy.
it's Asteria. Who knows? Any case, thank you so much. Right contact at dndwpod.com. And now, I think it's time that we chat with our special guest. So it is a pleasure to have you here, sir. I would like to introduce to our listeners Maatzyn. Hello, Maatzyn.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm a little hungry.
You're a little hungry.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that we don't have much? What does a shadow elf really enjoy?
Grains.
Grains. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair. Keep you regular.
So healthy.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit, if you don't mind. We don't know a ton about shadow elves, and sort of we know that there's a big war happening to the north that the shadow elves are a part of with the desert folk. We understand that is over the magic of the land. Would you mind sort of clarifying the shadow elves' way with magic, and maybe whether you agree or disagree with that way?
I think the way that shadow elves use magic isn't unlike the way it's used in other parts of the world. We use it to help it in our everyday lives, use it in combat and for healing and for strength and for progress.
Okay, and there's something specific about reaping magic?
Oh, so you're talking about how we take the magic from the land itself,
Yes,
and use it ourselves to and use it to its full extent.
So you drain magic from the land and then hold it with you?
Often, yes. We store it within ourselves and use it, and what's left we are able to pass on and give to others when we die.
And why is there such a conflict with the desert folk over this?
The desert folk use magic in a way that's very inefficient, I would say. They take it, and then they like to say that they return it to the earth, but that implies that the magic belongs to earth to begin with. It doesn't quite belong to anyone or anything. It's there for us to be used, and so to be returning it to the earth in that way, I think is a very inefficient use of energy and time.
Interesting.
Jake, you just dove right into like the political
Yeah.
question, like it's like the Miss America contest.
That's so intense.
Well, I'm curious, just specifically because we've done our research. We know a few things about you, sir. We do know that you were in the military. You were in the Shadow Elven Guard. Is that what it's called?
The military, yes.
Oh, okay. What role did you have in this?
I rose to the ranks as high as general, and
Wow.
I was very good at my job.
General Maatzyn. And is there a reason why you're no longer a general in the military?
There was a disagreement, which led to my court-martialing,
Ooh.
and I was set to be executed.
Oh my
for what
gosh.
happened.
Wait, what happened?
What was the disagreement over?
I was given a particularly heinous order by my superiors, and I refused to carry it out. And when I did so, I was reprimanded.
And what are the superiors of the Shadow Elven Guard? Or is it like a council? Is it ruled by a single person? Is it a king style situation? Like what? Who runs that?
I mean, the hierarchy is not untypical from militaries across our land, and I assume yours. Ultimately, the Queen of Morganfall makes all the decisions.
Oh, and is that where you're from specifically? Morganfall?
Yes, Morganfall.
What's Morganfall like? Sounds lovely. It sounds like I picture just beautiful
waterfall.
Beautiful wet waterfalls surrounding a giant city.
It is home.
Okay.
Do you miss it?
I do.
Wait, I apologize. I know I just asked you a question, but we completely glossed over the fact that you were set to be executed, from your
Yes.
military position, and you are
Yes.
clearly sitting here among us. And
Indeed.
so, how did you find your way away from this execution?
Well, first of all, I should mention that as part of my punishment, I was stripped of all my magic ability and my ability to retain magic and pass it on, and also wiped my knowledge of magic. So I know that I used to be able to do great things, but I couldn't tell you what they were.
Wow, very interesting.
Yes. And obviously, I disagreed with the court-martialing and their reasonings, and I certainly disagreed with the choice to be executed. And luckily, I still had friends inside, and they were able to break me out the night before I was meant to be killed. And I escaped aboard a ship, and eventually I found myself aboard a refugee ship.
Wow.
Hypothetically, what would happen if you were to return to Morganfall?
That is ultimately my goal, is to return.
Oh.
But as soon as I am discovered and found out, I would be killed instantly.
Interesting.
I can only imagine as general, too, that you're a fairly recognizable face in Morganfall.
Yes, certainly among the nobility and the higher classes, yes, indeed.
What makes you feel that one day you will be able to return?
I am very much hoping to gain power and use as leverage against those who wrong me, and hopefully I will still have many friends and allies within the military. I feel that they would join my side, and perhaps I can make counsel with the Queen, and she will hear me and reinstate me in my rightful place.
I see.
I wonder if you have this spirit that you believe it to be the spirit of Terraven. I wonder if once in a generation she chooses a shadow elf. This has to be a very special thing that is maybe deserving of right, or maybe some sort of special treatment that could absolve you of the past wrongdoings in the court.
I certainly like to think so. I think if it is her and she is indeed on my side, then I am on the right path.
Let me ask you this question. We have recently heard tales of the young blood mage that you've come across, as well as her father.
Asteria.
Yes, Asteria. Who her father, of course, Como, who gifted you with a ability, with a blood mage ability. Is this return to some semblance of magical power reinvigorating to you? How do you feel, one, about getting this power back, and two, about coming across these people and what that mage specifically told you about the future?
The Blood Sage was certainly an interesting character. I've never quite encountered someone with such a vision of the future and possible futures, although maybe I have, and it's just been wiped from my memory.
Sure.
Vision. I get it.
He was certainly a very powerful man, and I was hoping to learn as much as I could from him, but I was very grateful to be given the first step.
What is your experience with blood magic in the past? I mean, is that, or do you not know?
I wish I could tell you.
Interesting.
Perhaps I was a very skilled blood mage.
What about his daughter Asteria, who you seem to take a liking to, maybe somewhat romantically, if I might say so? Please don't stab me. I don't want to overstep my bounds here, but
He is reaching for his blade right
yeah,
now.
I'm holding the pod dog.
It's a
The
nervous
world
tick.
needs to know,
nervous tick.
Maatzyn.
She also was certainly a strong woman and powerful woman. Not quite the woman I thought she was.
Interesting. Have you ever been married?
No, never. It never crossed my mind.
And no children?
No children.
Unless that was wiped from your mind too.
No. Otherwise, memory's good.
Oh, so the only things that you cannot remember from your sentencing are things specific to magic.
Yes,
Understood.
correct.
What if your wife was magical?
Ooh.
No, I don't believe so.
So I have a sort of out there question. I've noticed that you have a very unusual haircut with the shaved sides and the hair long. Actually, considering we live in Los Angeles, it's really not that unusual.
It's pretty good for where we live.
Yeah, but with the top knot. And you've had this haircut throughout the journey, which has extended for a while now. Who cuts your hair on the road?
It's not terribly difficult to do myself. There isn't a lot of work that goes into it.
Do you use your daggers?
Oh, no, I wouldn't sully my daggers with something so
Mundane.
Trivial.
mundane and trivial. Yes, as grooming.
I wonder, just because I don't think about Junk or Adeline or Orny's hair habits, but since yours is so cropped on the side, is it a religious reason, or is it fashion?
It's functional. There's not blending going on. You have one size on the side, one size on top. This is a very peculiar question, I must say.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how it's functional. Is it like wind resistance? Or
Well, I
Functional
bet you
ease
I bet you actually it makes his hood quite comfortable.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
The hood of his cloak, I assume. I apologize. I don't mean to be speaking for you, sir, but the hood rests on the sides of his head, covering his face more. Whereas if he had, Adeline's hood, when she was here, I noted that you can see her hair billowing out of it, making her quite recognizable.
Sure.
Another question that I have for you, which again, I don't mean to upset you. It's just the nature of this format of us trying to get to know our guest here. Is this fear of birds that we understand you have, and is it specifically of feathered creatures, birds specifically, things with beaks?
I mean, think about a bird and think about how dirty and disgusting and terrifying a bird is. Think of the way it eats, clawing with its feet, and a creature doesn't even have arms. It's so odd and repulsing to me. Imagine doing everything in your life that you do without arms. The way you walk and eat.
It makes perfect sense.
They can fly. That's pretty cool.
One would argue that their arms are more functional because they do give them flight.
Well, I suppose aside from terrorbirds, who are flightless.
Sure, and penguins.
Uh-huh.
Did they have penguins where you come from?
What is that?
I guess not. Alternative to your fear of birds, you do seem to have an affinity for a specific 8-legged creature.
Think about how many arms they have. There's 8 of them.
That's
You really value arms.
That's kind of what I was getting at. I feel like arms is the more
How do you feel
arms, the
about
better.
octopi?
Do shadow elves specifically, as a people, have a connection to spiders, or is that something that Maatzyn has a connection to?
There are some cultures within the shadow elf people, but it is not everyone. I certainly think that spiders are fascinating and also, in a way, terrifying.
But a way that commands your respect versus
exactly
gross, dirty,
it's
filthy birds.
Fascinating how just the sight of one nearby can inflict fear.
What's your
something
opinion?
so small
Sure.
could be so scary. I find that very, very interesting.
What's your opinion of worms and snakes? Anything without any limbs?
They're fine.
They're fine.
So as long as the arms you have are not
long as you have
inadequate.
no limbs.
A worm can never be stalking you from above.
Fair enough.
Although they can be stalking you from below, as you've recently learned.
I have a question. Why this group? Why are you traveling with your companions?
Well, they're obviously very strong people, very skilled. They believe that what they are doing is right. I believe their hearts are in the right place. But as you may or may not know, the shadow elves are not very popular in our world. We do not have many allies among the different races. But neither Junk nor Adeline ever looked at me with suspicion or disgust or hatred. I felt that I felt their trust right away, and I very much appreciated that.
Aw.
It's a very lovely sentiment.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
So my final question, again, another one of those where I guess if I'm just being honest, I'm trying to get information, and I apologize once again if this is more. But we've recently learned of a young shadow elven girl who, at the mere mention of, you seem to be taken back by. Who is this young girl? Do you suspect she's somebody specific that the King of Norrens has?
There's not much I can say other than she's someone very important to me. There's no relation by blood, I can say that, but part of the reason to be in Rymor is to find this young girl and return her to her rightful place.
And what place is that?
Oh, she is a shadow elf. She belongs with the shadow elf people.
Well, thank you so much for coming and taking a time out of your very busy schedule to sit with us. I hope the fire was warm and the accommodations comfortable. And best of luck to you and all of your fellow travelers on the mission ahead. It seems like you have a lot to deal with at the moment and a lot ahead of you.
Well, I don't believe in luck, but I appreciate
One last
that.
thing, boxers or briefs?
I don't believe we have enough time to go into the details of the very specific shadow elf undergarments.
Wonderful.
That's fair. All
That's
right.
everything I wanted to know.
Thank you so much, Maatzyn. Well, that was an interesting conversation,
So
to say
informative.
the least. Maatzyn is definitely a unique guy.
Intriguing man.
I gotta say, his voice was a little different than I anticipated. I was expecting. Oh, Matt,
Really?
you're back.
Oh, hey,
Matt's
what's
back.
up? What did I miss?
We just sat down with somebody who sounds eerily similar to you. In
I
fact,
was really afraid that you got murdered by him. So,
No joke.
No, I'm here.
okay, great.
Just eating snacks.
I'm good.
all right, we need to wrap this up. This has gone on for far too long. Thank you guys
Thanks,
so much
people.
for listening.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for all of your support. Please follow at DNDW Pod on all social media and check out dndwpod.com for more information. Click the contact button on the top of that. Send us an email and we will, we'll shout you out or we'll respond to you on these roundtables.
Ask us questions.
And ask us questions and we will answer them and all that fun
You
stuff.
can tweet at us.
Yes, tweet at us. Be sure using the hashtag DNDWPod when you are sharing this with friends and talking about it on social media. Rate and review on iTunes. And last but not least, last but the most important, show your support. If you really enjoy this show and you really want to help us out, the best thing that you can do is check out the brand new Dragon Wagon Radio shop. Go to dragonwagonradio.com/shop and check. There are some great,
There's some legit great designs.
very cool,
Very fun stuff.
yeah, Dungeons and Dragon Wagon designs for some t-shirts, some mugs. That is the most direct way to help us out and also get something really cool in return and tout your love for this great podcast. Additionally, you can donate directly right now. We are in somewhat of a conundrum that I'm not going to get into in vast detail, but we would really love to continue to utilize our studio space here at the Dragon's Den. And to do so, we could really use your support. So please consider donating directly via our PayPal donate button that's on the website. Just go to the website, click support, and you'll see all the information that you need. Thank you so much on behalf of everybody here. My name is Jake Lloyd. Alexandra, say goodbye to the people.
Good night and good luck.
Matthew Hinksman,
Bye.
Paul Bianchi,
Auf Wiedersehen.
and we will see you next quest.
It's Dragon Wagon.